Hi, Preeti. How are you doing?
I'm good, Kurt. How are you?
I'm good. I was just reading online. I thought it'd be time to make a great video about, actually, you had the best term for it, the cult of overachievement and what parents are either doing or seeing in their kids. But first, let's stop. What would you say is the cult of overachievement in our society right now?
I think that the pursuit of happiness and the great American dream has turned into this idea that the more we achieve, the better our grades, the higher we climb the corporate ladder. It's part of the disease of more, and I called it the cult of overachievement because we all subscribe to this notion that more is better in everything, and we've passed that down to our children. And I think that children are hyper programmed. There's very little downtime. I know as an adult I have very little downtime, and I have to make a conscious effort to make sure that I take time to rest, that I take time to rest my mind, that I take time to do things other than working. And I found myself in an endless cycle of overachievement from the time I was really young, where it was piano lessons and karate lessons and all these after school activities, to always getting an A, never settling for less than an A. If it wasn't an A, it wasn't good enough. There was a lot of pressure to perform in my family. And then that translated later on in adulthood to get the job, get the promotion, get the next job, get the next promotion, higher salary, higher title. While I achieved all these things and I'm proud of those achievements, none of those things brought me happiness. In fact, happiness was really elusive. And I thought the more I did and the more I achieved, the more I would feel a sense of belonging, a sense of completeness, and that I would fill this void that I also felt, that I didn't feel connected to the world, even though I was doing all these things.
And so that would be a lot of external validation by your accomplishments, like you said, your grades, your athletic achievements. And at Maya, working with teens, how do you kind of turn that around so there's self validation? So those things aren't defining them or as important.
Right, you're exactly right. The cult of overachievement leads to this desperate need for external validation. And in fact, the only validation that those of us who are part of this cult are able to draw from is external validation. And the danger in that is that it's giving away your very foundation. It's giving away your safety and security and your sense of self to other people, places, and things. And so at Maya, we think it's really important that we teach kids and teens and young adults that achievement is great, ambition is great, success is great, but we need to have a core foundation of knowing who you are, knowing your values, knowing how to achieve for yourself before you're actually looking outward, and seeking external validation. What does internal validation look like? What does true confidence look like? And so the Maya program is designed to help young people achieve inner confidence and inner strength.
And you think social media and the pressures, it just is another layer of external validation with likes and hearts and thumbs up added on
Absolutely.
to the accolades and achievements that your parents expect you to get, good grades, do all these things, National Honor Society, whatever your thing is. How does social media put even more stress on that kind of a parent child relationship and what children feel or teens?
Right. Well, ask anybody our age, and the first thing we'll say is, thank God there was no social media when we were growing up.
Right.
Part of it is that we got to make our mistakes in private, and living these public lives. Kids are making their mistakes in public. But the other thing is that, I was thinking recently about some of bullying that I experienced as a young person, and how, as difficult as that was, and as much as that really did negate my self-worth almost completely, it could floor me, it could incapacitate me. I got to go home and be away from it. And what's happening now is that kids are getting bullied, but there's no reprieve, there's no safe place, because they're getting bullied in school, but they're also getting bullied on social media. the desire for, so that's two sides of the same coin, right? And the coin is your entire self-worth being tied to external validation. And on the one hand, it's please don't negate me, please don't bully me, please don't make me feel small and make fun of me 24/7. And on the other side, it's please like me, please enjoy my videos, please pay attention to me, and share my videos. And it's an enormous amount of pressure, so much so that last week the Surgeon General of the United States said that he wants to issue a warning label on social media platforms for children. This is really infringing on children's mental health. I think as an adult, we all know how much it can actually infringe on our mental health. And for these young brains that are not fully developed, it's even more tumultuous and damaging.
So you would say Maya is the opposite or counteracts the effects of Meta. Would that be correct?
I mean, I like that Maya is the opposite of Meta. I mean, listen, there's nothing wrong with social media in and of itself. There's the proper
Okay.
use of social media. It is not going anywhere, and we have to learn how to live with it, how to make friends with it, and how to use it properly. And actually, one of the things that the Maya program does is that it breaks that down for kids. Like, let's really talk about what's going Um, on social media. Let's talk about how you feel, and let's talk about how you want to feel. Like, what would make you feel good about being out there? And I guarantee it's not, at the end of the day, likes. One of the things that we talk about with our students is what they're portraying. And what they're portraying currently, a lot of that is dictated by popularity. It's dictated by what everyone else is doing. And if you get a bunch of 10, 12, 15, 20-year olds deciding what's cool on social media, you're going to get a ton of peer pressure. And it's not going to be self-directed in any way. It's going to be all about that external validation. So one of the things that we do is when a kid joins the Maya program, I ask them to turn off all their social media, or at the very least to set it all to private. And
Mm.
parents love this, but it's hard for kids because it's a really big way that they relate to one another. But setting it to private is, to me, the first step in actually taking ownership. And the other side of that is accountability for what they're putting out there. There is definitely a sense of I don't think that kids understand how permanent social media is and how damaging it can be. Their impulse control isn't there, developmentally speaking, right? And so impulsively posting something because you have a desperate need for attention in that moment is not the best way. The other thing is that here we have these children who are involved and members of the cult of achievement, and they're not posting anything about what they're actually achieving, what they're interested in, and how that reflects who they are as individuals and their values. And so one of the things that we stress at Maya is, let's talk about those values. Let's talk about the things that you're proud of, and let's make your social media reflect that. And so we can do that on TikTok. We can do that on Instagram. We can help kids curate what they're posting and what people know about them. And if you want to have silly, private family moments or moments with your best friends, that's okay. That's why you set your social media to private. But you also have a public persona on social media, and they're not effectively using the platform to advance themselves, to show themselves to schools, to fellowships, to internships, to prospective employers. Who they really are. And it's not about making sure that we're projecting a false sense of self. It's actually projecting a true sense of self, and not the sense of self that is young and desperate for attention and popularity and wants to be liked. It's empowering kids to say, you've done so much in your young life and you should be proud of it, and here's ways that you can encourage one another to post about things that you actually really care about, and 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 interact with one another in that way.
So what you're trying to tell me is any parents who do not or are not thrilled with their kids' social media accounts and what they're seeing might be up for a phone call with Maya.
Oh yeah, I this is definitely one that parents get very excited about, especially parents. My friends with teenage girls are mortified often about what is on their social media, and
Mm.
unfortunately, girls, I used to be one, as we navigate our sexuality, as we come into ourselves, we don't always know the right way. And as adults, we've all been there. We know what that's like. We know the pressures that come with adolescence and teenagehood. We know how difficult these times are, and really what kids need is role modeling and guidance. Like if we're posting on our social media things that are not appropriate, our kids are going to be doing that as well. So I do also have conversations with parents about doing a little bit of an inventory and deep dive into their own social media to see what they're doing. Keeping up with the Joneses is something that adults do a lot on social media, and kids do it too in their own way. So we can do family audits on social media and everybody can get on the same page. In addition, I really stress that it doesn't matter how old you are, you should have a LinkedIn. If you're going to be on social media, and you're old enough to be on social media, then the very first thing you should have on social media is a LinkedIn. And that's definitely the last thing that kids are thinking about. So they leave Maya with one or two really good, sound, personally branded social media platforms, whether it's TikTok or Instagram or Snap or whatever they're interested in. And they also always leave with a LinkedIn.
Oh, that's great. So if I'm a parent and this sounds kind of interesting, I have a teen that maybe I'm not thrilled with the way their social media, the direction, or what I'm seeing. How do they contact you, or how do they find you, and how do they get in touch with you?
Now we can be found at www.maya4life.com. That's Maya, the number 4life.com. And you can find us on Instagram and Facebook.
All right, sounds good. Great talking to you today, Preeti.
Thanks, Kurt.